Good evening, everyone. And it is evening here in Rome on this last day of the visit of the three delegations to Rome to meet with Pope Francis. And I'd just like to share a few thoughts on this day. Of course, we gathered this morning in the hall, about 160 people, and it began with Pope Francis coming in and an introduction by Bishop Raymond Poisson, the president of the CCCB, who then introduced the three different groups to lead us in prayer, a Métis group and First Nations group and Inuit group, and they prayed the Our Father, sang the Our Father in their own language, and Bishop Tony Krotke, who was sitting right next to me, joined right in. And then the Holy Father delivered a beautifully well-crafted message, a rather powerful message, and it showed that he was really listening to the people, because he made reference to what they had shared with him during the week. In every deliberation, we must consider the impact on the seventh generation. And then the image of the branches of a tree that is firmly rooted in culture and faith, but buffeted by storms. And then their care for the land. And then his feeling deeply grieved by the stories of the suffering and hardship and discrimination and various forms of abuse that they shared with him. And finally, that led him to expressing these words, and I'll just read what he wrote. I ask for God's forgiveness, and I want to say to you with all my heart, I am very sorry. And I join my brothers, the Canadian bishops, in asking your pardon. It's a pretty powerful statement. And everybody was waiting for those words, I am sorry. And he didn't just say that, he said, I am very sorry. So certainly I think hearts were lifted as they heard that, which everybody had a translation that was given to them so we could follow what he was saying. And he ended up by saying that the church stands beside you and wants to continue journeying with you. And after that, there was a cultural expression. So the Métis fiddlers took the floor, and the young fellow who was could jig and fiddle at the same time with his feet. And he told me after that somebody took a video and showed him the picture where the Pope Francis actually was giving him a thumbs up. So he really enjoyed that. And then a First Nations dancer and a drum song sung by an elder. And then as the Pope said farewell, and he actually said that in English, and he ended up with saying, give us a blessing and said bye-bye. Just as he was exiting the hall for the Suicide Jesus, the pastor of Sacred Heart, surprised him by almost like placing a stole over him, and he really accepted it well. And here's the stole. This was made by Veronica Kennedy. She had made it for the Pope, actually, and Father Suicide was able to give it to him with the Oblate Cross, and then the Our Lady of Guadalupe. And then this is made on suede, and then the eagle feather that turns into doves of peace. And so this was a rather dramatic gesture. The orange, of course, stands for Every Child Matters and for healing and reconciliation, and especially with those doves of peace. So, and then after that, we went to the media briefing, and really the content of that was that the apology was really accepted. It was seen as heartfelt, emphatic, and caring, and opening up a new trail, fresh tracks, a way forward towards greater healing and reconciliation. And on a personal level, a couple things. One was just the surprise at seeing Antoinette Lafleur from Beauval on Salt and Light Television after the celebration in Assisi. And then she was sitting in the front row, very close to where I was sitting. And it took me back to, I think, 1987 or so, when there was a need for somebody to lead a liturgy in Beauval. And Ed and Angie and myself, as the Keewatin Renewal team, met with Antoinette and Cecile and gave them a 1-hour workshop. And they started doing lay liturgies and have never looked back. And these decades later, here she is in Rome at this celebration, standing with the Métis person leading the prayer. And also just to have Bishop Tony Krotke involved. He journeyed with his people. He wasn't really part of the working committee, but certainly made a powerful presentation, a homily at Assisi, using the image of traveling by skidoo, and they would place him in the middle. So he wasn't leading and he wouldn't get lost, but also returning back, they made him lead because now they were heading towards the village. And that was really, it's kind of like a settler home. It belongs to the settlers. And he was getting the message that this is what we imposed on the people. Their life is really on the land. So quite a powerful lesson. And then for Father Suicide, his dramatic gesture with the stole, that was great, because and then just the supper we were able to have here at the General House with with Phil Fontaine and Willie Littlechild especially, and others. And also Francois and Lisa Raven with the Returning to Spirit, and they led a pipe ceremony that pretty well the whole community joined in last night, yesterday evening on the third floor here at the General House. To have that kind of oblate presence throughout this week, this major historic event, since oblates ran most of the residential schools. So I think that was really a powerful gesture in its own way. And the meal itself was seen as a symbol of the renewed relationship of the church, the oblates, and the Indigenous peoples. So as we head home, continue to pray for us and continue to work for moving forward together towards greater truth, healing, justice, and reconciliation, words that surface so often during this memorable and historic week.